Hi guys, welcome back to my gingerbread dollhouse renovation series. My name is Jahan and I am so excited about this episode. But before we dive in, if you haven't already, go back and watch the first 3 episodes in this series where I discuss my plans, how I gave the exterior the most delicious gingerbread makeover, and how I upgraded the floors, the walls, and the ceilings. For this episode, I am going to be working on the interior design. So that is specifically all the furniture and the decor pieces, including art and a few other little surprises along the way. Now, when I started thinking about this dollhouse right at the start of the year, one thing was for certain, and that was I did not want the gingerbread house to look like Santa's workshop from the inside. I really wanted this to reflect someone's home, specifically ours, in a dollhouse format. So what I've done is I've worked really closely with my kids to basically pull together ideas for their rooms and to include things that they absolutely love. So for example, Celeste loves flowers, so that is going to be the main theme in her room. And for Dusty, he loves sport as well as red and blue. So that is super cute to be able to involve them in the process. Now, in addition to that, something that I've always wanted to do was to make tiny miniature versions of some of my very own upcycling and DIY projects that I've made over the years. So obviously I'm so excited to challenge myself because at this stage I have no idea if this is something I can even do, but I'm willing to give it a go. Now, obviously, when it comes to making furniture, having the right tools by your side is really important. And I'm so excited to be partnering up with Ryobi Australia for this renovation series. All right, let's get making. Planning how to style a dollhouse with furniture can be overwhelming, so I found it really helpful to put in some place cards such as old makeup boxes, balsa wood sheets, fabric and furniture mock-ups, which helped me visualize what the pieces would look like in each room. I'm actually a list girl, so I started writing down all the furniture and decor pieces I wanted to make and would need to purchase for each room. Something literally no one tells you in dollhouse land is that renovating a dollhouse is really expensive if you buy everything, and I wanted to keep the costs down while also being as sustainable as possible. So I wanted to challenge myself to reuse materials I already had at home, such as toilet rolls, coasters, and cereal boxes. Another important aspect of filling a dollhouse with furniture and decor is the color palette. I wanted each room to have its own look and feel, but also tie nicely with the other spaces. So I used my paint cards with thrifted and new fabric as a guide to make a really cohesive color scheme for each room. And because I'm a tactile and visual learner, I found this really helpful in making those important color palette decisions. When it comes to choosing colours, I think it's important to make sure they're evenly spaced across each room. I chose 2 to 3 colours per room and avoided using the same colours in any rooms next to or directly above or below each other. I didn't mind if there were similar colours in rooms in a diagonal direction from each other, but I guess that's just how my brain works. Once I had figured out the furniture and decor, I gathered the tools I would need for this stage of the renovation. I used my Ryobi measuring tape, glue gun and scroll saw, along with a cutting mat, craft knife, small paintbrushes, wood glue, metal rulers, nail file for filing, pencil and pen, adhesive spray and painter's tape. I've never made dollhouse furniture before and initially felt overwhelmed, but I have upcycled a lot of furniture and decor and knew that I would at least have a basic understanding of the process. So I decided the best approach would be to start with something I could make fairly easily, such as the beds, and then break down each bed into a set of smaller tasks. It definitely felt more manageable this way, and as I started getting into the swing of things, I felt more confident and excited knowing I had some more intricate pieces that I needed to tackle later on. To start with, I reused a box from some Kmart LED lights to make Dusty's bed. To make it look and feel cozy, I glued a layer of batting onto it first, making sure to remove the excess batting from the corners so it wouldn't look too bulky, and then I glued the fabric on next. I wanted the end of the bed to look really smooth and beautiful, so I removed some of the excess fabric using scissors and did a straight fold over and under the box, which I glued down using my Ryobi glue gun. This tool, honestly, is the hero of this entire renovation, and I don't know what I would have done without it. Because I only had one box, I had to make a bed from scratch using balsa wood for Celeste's bedroom and our own. This is such a great entry-level project to introduce yourself to the world of dollhouse furniture making. So I decided to use the same measurements as the LED cardboard box to make a box for Celeste's bed and then our own. I used wood glue and painter's tape to hold it all together while the glue dried. At this stage, I was feeling really overwhelmed because I had so much to do, but I also realized that I wasn't making these pieces to sell to anyone, so it would be totally okay if they weren't perfect or had small imperfections. I decided that don't sweat the small stuff was going to be my motto, but on the flip side, looking back now, I did spiral into becoming fully obsessed with the detail and making as many pieces as I could myself. As they say, the devil is in the detail, and I couldn't agree with this more, but it did just bring me so much joy and satisfaction, and I knew if I went the extra mile, the dollhouse would look more authentic and gorgeous. I made Celeste's bed using some green floral fabric, and for our bed I used a blue ticking fabric I've had for a couple of years and repeated the same steps as before. Then it was time to make some pillows. After using the balsa wood and batting for the bed, I figured I could use the same approach to make the pillows, and even though it was a little intricate, it was so fun and easy to make. I basically wrapped a piece of balsa wood in batting and then wrapped that in fabric like a little gift. The Ryobi glue gun worked beautifully for this step, and I can't believe how cute they look. Oh my goodness. Here are the beds I made, as well as the teeny tiny pillows and cushions. I made sure that the pillows and cushions contrasted against the bedding for that extra little wow factor. And I also made the cutest bed heads for the kids' rooms. I made an arch bed head for Celeste using balsa wood, which I wrapped in thrifted fabric using my Ryobi glue gun. And I also made a crown bed head for Dusty, which I'm obsessed with. And to do that, all I used was balsa wood and timber stain. Next, I started working on Celeste's desk, which honestly was so easy, and I got Celeste to help me. The kids' bedrooms are a little awkward to work with given the lines of the slanted ceiling, but I knew I wanted to make a desk for Celeste, so I had to come up with something creative and simple. I decided to use a coaster for the tabletop, which I simply cut in half using my craft knife, and then I cut a toilet roll for the base and glued them together using wood glue. When the glue dried, Celeste helped me paint her desk in her favourite colour, pink. She chose from a few different colours, and I was really excited because it tied in nicely with her wallpaper and bedding. I also made her a little stool by wrapping thrifted fabric around a cardboard tube, and I wrapped a wooden round for the seat and pushed the excess fabric through the tube and glued it all together with my Ryobi glue gun. I actually forgot to film this step, so if you have any questions about it, please let me know in the comments below and I will come back to you with some more detailed steps. When planning the dollhouse furniture, I knew two things for certain. I wanted to challenge myself and make almost all of it myself, and replicate some of my favourite pieces I've upcycled and DIY'd around our home over the last few years. For our bedroom, I decided to replicate the ball-foot side tables I upcycled a few years ago using second-hand footstool and styrofoam balls, which I covered in render paint. This project was so popular, and it cemented my love of elevated furniture upcycling and sustainable furniture design. To make this side table, I simply glued 4 wooden beads onto the base of a wooden cube using wood glue, and when the glue dried, I painted it. I actually decided to make 2 of these, so there will be one sitting on either side of our bed, and that's it. I love the rug in our living room, which is by Castlereagh, and I thought it would be super cute to replicate this. I had some leftover boucle fabric in my studio, so I used our miniature bed to figure out the size of the rug first, and then I cut it out using scissors. Then I used a black ink pen and a ruler to draw the abstract design on top. And honestly, that's it. It'll be such a simple yet cute addition to our bedroom, and I cannot wait to see what it looks like in the dollhouse. Something I love about making miniature furniture is that it gives you the opportunity to make your own designs. When thinking about the dining table design, I wanted to make it really simple and I felt really inspired by Celeste's desk. So I made a simple dining table using a toilet roll and a round coaster. I love dusty blue, so I knew this would be a really fun opportunity to paint the table in this stunning colour. But the thing is, it did look a bit plain, so on a last minute whim, I decided to add little wooden dowels to the base to create a fluted accent, and it looks and it now looks more elevated and high end. To complement the table, I also painted some miniature dining chairs in the same blue paint and used my Ryobi glue gun to attach teeny tiny bows to the back of each chair. Looking at this set now, I had the sneaky feeling I'll be adopting the secret room rule for the kitchen. A few years ago, I made arched shelves in my studio using wardrobe inserts and ply. It was an affordable storage hack for all my craft and upcycling supplies. And when planning the dollhouse, I knew I had to replicate these and put them in my dollhouse studio. The studio space in the dollhouse is a little tight, but thankfully I had my Ryobi scroll saw, which allowed me to make accurate cuts into the balsa wood on the first attempt. Following this, I used my nail file to smooth the balsa wood, cut the shelves, painted all the pieces and glued them together using wood glue. I also trimmed and glued pine garland ties around the arches and added little bows for a festive touch. This is a gingerbread dollhouse renovation after all. A couple of years ago, I upcycled decking slats, which I found at a local tip shop, and using cork tiles made a pinboard for my studio. I knew my dollhouse studio would need one, so I got to work using a thin cork sheet and popsicle sticks, which I stained using timber stain. I had so much fun adding all the little bits and pieces onto the cork, and I'm so excited to see this in the dollhouse. I was so nervous about making the kitchen from scratch and not really knowing how best to approach it. It's such an important piece and a key feature in the kitchen. So in the end, I decided to make a paper template initially to help get the measurements right. I wanted the kitchen to be an L shape, so I knew there were going to be a few complexities, but making a paper template seemed like the best way to proceed, and honestly, it was a genius move, if I do say so myself. Once I got the measurements right and cut the balsa wood using a craft knife, I glued all the pieces together using painter's tape and wood glue. Then I added some drawers and cupboards to the front and started working on the kitchen counter. For the kitchen counter, I wanted it to hang over slightly to create a little bit of a lip. So I took the measurements directly from the design of the kitchen cabinetry and added on a couple of millimeters for me to achieve that look. I also made a very cute stovetop using a cereal box, and I also made a sink using a Clinique moisturizer bottle lid, which I painted white. Following this, I painted the kitchen cabinetry in one of my favorite colors, and to add a little bit of wow factor, I decided to add the cutest little curtain using thrifted fabric. I found this at a local charity shop for like $2, and it is the cutest floral print you'll ever see. It's this beautiful burgundy brown with little tiny blue, little dusty blue flowers, and I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. My love of creating miniature replicas was still going strong at this point, so I decided to make a miniature version of our Castlereagh sofa. To begin with, I created a paper template for the back of the sofa and worked it out along the way. I glued a seat onto the back, which I supported with another piece of balsa wood, and to give it a cozy feel, I decided to wrap it in felt. Then I placed boucle fabric onto the felt. I initially used wood glue, but that was an epic fail, and thankfully I had some fabric adhesive spray, which worked a treat. Then I made the arms using balsa wood, boucle fabric, and more adhesive spray, and I glued these onto the sofa using my Ryobi glue gun. I made the cushions and did my best to replicate these, but I have to admit, it might not be exactly the same, but damn, she is cute. As I mentioned earlier, making miniature furniture is so fun because you get to bring your own designs to life, but without the cost. I've had a particular coffee table design in my head for a very long time, so I decided to make a teeny tiny version of it. I used an old ribbon roll for the base and balsa wood for the top, as well as the intricate feature at the bottom. I used timber stain to colour the ribbon roll and balsa wood, and then it was as simple as gluing it all together. Some of you may know I designed my own DIY wavy shelves using MDF and PVC pipes a couple of years ago. This project actually went viral and I was blown away. Since then, I've seen many similar versions, so naturally I had to include this in the dollhouse and specifically in my own studio. I used pasta boxes to create the shelves and cork stoppers for the pipes. I painted the pieces and glued them together, and that's it. I cannot wait to stack these with all my favorite crafting and interior design books. A few months ago, I upcycled an old room divider and it too also went viral. So naturally I had to include this in the dollhouse and specifically our bedroom. I cut 3 pieces of balsa wood and sketched and painted the abstract design on front. I framed each piece using timber stain popsicle sticks, which I glued on. And to join the pieces, I simply used masking tape at the back, and isn't she gorgeous? Another project I upcycled earlier this year with Ryobi is my wooden accent chair, and of course I had to include this in the dollhouse. This was a little bit more complex in design, so I used balsa wood for the armrests, which I stained, and then I used more of that leftover boucle fabric, which I painted stripes onto. I assembled the chair together and I think it's so cute. It's not an exact replica, but she's pretty damn close. And how could I forget my upcycled stone plinth? I made this 3 years ago using the base of a side table and sheets of stone, both of which I found at our local tip shop for an absolute bargain. So I just had to replicate it for the dollhouse. I used an old charger cord box as the frame and glued teeny tiny pieces of egg carton on top using wood glue. And then once the glue was dried, I just painted it white and that's it. And I am honestly so obsessed. And that's not all. I also made miniature crafting and interior design books, a floor lamp, framed art, and Christmas decorations, including teeny tiny gingerbread men and candy canes using polymer clay, wreaths, and I also decorated all the Christmas trees with jewelry chain. I sincerely hope you've enjoyed this episode and have learned lots of new teeny tiny furniture making skills. The last few months have been busy to say the least, but I'm so excited to be super close to the finish line. I've still got lots to do, including icing the exterior and styling the interior, but I honestly couldn't be more excited. This has been a mammoth project and I cannot wait to see it all come together once it's finished. If you've got any questions, comments, or tips, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. I really love hearing from you and it truly makes my day. And remember to stay tuned for the final reveal and gingerbread dollhouse tour.